Good morning, internet, or afternoon, or whatever time of day it is. This is Acoustic Pants, the gaming monk, and today's game is a little Starcraft 2 session. Out of all the games I play, Starcraft 2 is probably the one closest to my heart, put it that way. My brothers and I played this ever since, Starcraft 1, ever since we were kids. I'm a little noobish at it, but I can macro. I can build an army. When is it now? This particular game, I'm not playing this right now, just kind of talking over the top. I hope you like the music. It's kind of epic. I really like the Starcraft music. Although, to be honest, I think they kind of ripped off a few things from World of Warcraft. But I don't mind that. It's pretty good. Anyway, so Season 3 of 2013's ladder pool and WCS has started, so there's a few new maps. This is one of the 2v2 maps. I don't ladder a lot. I play every day, but I spend most of my time in custom maps just drilling build orders. So that's what I'm doing here. I don't remember what it is. I play Terran. I think you probably noticed that in the loading screen. Oh no, yeah, here we go. Terran versus Zerg. So I'm probably going with a bio strategy. Although I've been trying to mech versus Zerg lately, that's pretty fun. Anyway, so that's today's game. And if you're not that familiar with StarCraft, I'll kind of, explain a little bit in a minute once everything gets started. But one of my last videos was the Ezekiel one, the Dota video with Ezekiel chapter 1, where he has the vision of the creatures and the wings and the wheels and the floating and the sunshine and whatnot. And I wanted to go a bit further along on the prophecy theme in general, simply because, well, I find the idea of prophecy very interesting, and I think every religion and culture has its own form, except secularized Western culture, and I think it's pretty worth talking about. In fact, if you like StarCraft is all about prophecies with the Protoss and Zeratul and Tassadar and the Preservers and all. Anyway, so this map, I'll come back to prophecy in a sec. So this map, it's a 2v2, you spawn in the top corners, and your first expansion is directly behind me. You'll see it in a bit. It's one of those ones where you expand backwards to start with, and I believe the AI is down the bottom. You don't really get close spawns. So, what am I building? So this is a screen recording, not a replay. I don't have the production tab or anything. This must be the first time I played this map. I was checking to see if there was close spawns or not. Sneeze. Oh. I'll bet it's the cat. My neighbour has a super fluffy cat, and it makes me sneeze, and it sits on the fence and goes through our compost heap. Anyway, so prophecy. There's all in the Christian Bible, Jewish Bible, in the Bible. There's a few different forms of what you would call prophecy, and then in religions and history as a whole, there's some more variations again. I think the assumption we make when we hear the word prophecy, or if there was someone who called themselves a prophet, is you'd assume that their work is foretelling the future, or that the process of prophesying is to give a timeline of future events with some degree of certainty, kind of like horoscopes, or why you might go to mediums to get the results on the horse races so you can bet and win $1 million and benefit materially. Biblical prophecy doesn't follow that very, very often at all. In fact, almost never. But there's sometimes where it does. In the book of Ezekiel and the 12 books in the prophet section, so Isaiah and Jeremiah, Amos, and the rest. There's a few visions in there, like chapter 1 of Ezekiel, and then a lot of it is the the message type prophecy where it follows the triad pattern, where there's a kind of a judgment against Israel, a judgment against Israel's neighbours. Oh, found a Zerg. Right, so he's just gone pool expand, pool gas expand. Sorry, I'm not commentating this at all. So I'm on 2 bases. Getting hit by the scout. Stupid little Zergling. I love Zerglings, they're the best. I've still got 1 gas. I've been playing Starcraft 2 kind of slow lately. I'm not sure why I've slowed down, to be honest.
Upgrade complete.
I think I need to maybe get more repetitive, or maybe watch replays more, and then, or maybe just try harder. I don't know. But anyway, so most of the book of Ezekiel follows that pattern, and then there's this vision in chapter 1 which doesn't. There's other examples of prophetic occurrences where it won't be a book of prophecy, but a character, say like Balaam or Moses, will give a message or have some kind of insight or vision, and it's just recorded as part of the narrative of the story. Then there's something like the book of Revelation, which is my favourite book in the Bible, along with Proverbs, and that's we don't even have time to get into that, but that's all, visions and pictures and symbols and strange happenings in the spirit world, and horses flying around on dragons and whatnot. It's great fun. It scares the hell out of a lot of people though. They just don't know what to make of it because no one kind of tells them. 3 barracks, building a factory. Is that more barracks? What am I thinking? I'm probably thinking, or am I being greedy? 5 racks, reactive widow mines. Okay, so this is going to be marine mine with a 1-1 and a medivac or 2. I'll probably push it 11. I think I'm even just improvising this build. So StarCraft 2 has build orders. You always start out on 1 base. You've got 6 workers to begin with. Yeah, 6, and then like the first half a dozen buildings that you make kind of is your opening, kind of like chess. And you keep building units, and the buildings you need to make those particular units, and you go all the way through to the late game. Or sometimes you end earlier. So these are the humans. Then there's the Zerg, which are like the alien bug, giant spider, crab, monstrous things. And then there's the Protoss, which are the hyper intelligent, technologically advanced, spacey woo-woo psychic race. Building up a bit of gas. I need to get some upgrades. Yeah, I'm just winging this. I don't even know what I'm doing. 1 on both gas. And I'm not even scouting or anything. I'm just not. But that's cool. Whatever. Maybe it was first game of the day and I wasn't trying. I was still asleep. So where was I? Prophecy, patterns, predicting stuff, Ezekiel, how it happens, picture language, in Revelation. Yeah, so there's a few different forms of the thing. If we go to the New Testament, kind of 2 things I want to mention is 1, Ezekiel chapter 4. No, not Ezekiel. Ephesians chapter 4, and the author writes that God gave the church gifts of apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, and evangelists, and their job is to build up other believers, to build up the church. And then the other one is the discussion in 1 Corinthians, where the Apostle Paul writes about like spiritual gifts. And there's a whole backstory to the Corinthian church. Corinth is in it was an island in Greece, wasn't it? I could get the map out. They're a Greek city, as I remember, a port city on a bit of a land bridge. So lots of sailors, lots of trade, lots of commerce. Kind of very colourful city. Anyway, so in Corinthians, Paul goes on about how chapter 14, there's this gift called speaking in tongues, where you like speak in other languages, and that apparently builds the individual. And Paul makes the argument in this book that prophecy is the gift of desire because it builds up other people, whereas the gift of tongues builds up yourself. Yeah, so there you go, Marine Mine Medivac. I'm just letting him sit there. I never do this. Oh well.
This better be good. SCV ready.
3 base, 4 base. I'm liking the greedy builds with Terran. That's kind of fun. I've been trying to mech a lot more, and just getting turret rings and missile sensor towers, and just kind of turtling to 4 bases and harassing tank drops. Anyway, so Paul's argument was that prophecy was to build other people up, and what I said before about us assuming that prophecy is about predicting the future. A lot of stuff in the New Testament is not about predicting the future. It's about hope or guidance for the present, or insight for the present. I'd say Jesus had a lot of prophetic moments where he would speak very profoundly in a way which people didn't expect, but revealed how much he knew about that person or their situation. Like the woman at the well, very famous story. Different people with different illnesses, and so on and so forth. But I think with Christian prophecy, it's if you want to get anything out of it, if you have any kind of belief in spirituality at all. A lot of Christians today don't think that God does anything, that all the stuff that happened in the Bible happened back then and doesn't happen now, or that a lot of it is metaphorical to teach a lesson but never actually happened. I don't hold that view. I hold that God is very active today. Got 2 medivacs at 14 minutes. So I'm not even maxed out. This is ridiculous. There's been no action. See, the Zerg's on 4 bases as well. You can see on the mini-map.
I can't build here. Go ahead. SCV ready. Gotcha. This better be
See, I've got this ton of Marines, but this isn't going to kill him. And this map, you've got to walk a long way around. It's not
Got it.
there aren't many quick paths. Once you commit to one, you've really committed to it. But yeah, I think God is very active in the world today. We may not always perceive it, and I think as far as spiritual gifts and so forth go, I think a lot of that happens, and in different parts of the world, you may have experienced different things or seen different things. But I think in Western society we've kind of shut out the door, like shut the door on anything spiritual. The New Age movement's kind of brought it back a little bit. But back in the 17th, 16th century, we had the Enlightenment, scientific revolution, and we started to think because we could determine the scientific causes of natural phenomenon, there was therefore no spiritual causes for it. So sicknesses and mental illnesses were now no longer demonic or curses of witchcraft. They were just bacteria and chemical imbalances. And they are bacteria or chemical imbalances, or a virus or an injury or whatnot. But I think often there are spiritual components as well. And I think it's worth noticing that in other parts of the world, like I'd say almost all of Asia, which have modernized, they still have their spiritual beliefs and their religious practices. Nothing's changed in that regard. And I find that interesting. Africa's the same. It's just very, very Western societies. Anywhere where Greek thinking had a lot of influence. Yes, the infestation pit. Yeah, see now this is the thing with playing the AI. It's good for drilling a build order, but in this situation they would have left the game probably by now if it got to this stage. Check out my bank. You got to spend it, man. You don't want to save money in Starcraft if you've never played it. You want to spend it. And it's just about constantly building stuff and then keeping your army out on the map and staying aware of what your opponent's doing. Oh well. I'll sharpen my game up and do a ladder session for you. I'm not a pro, but I can play better than this. Yeah, so like the AI just doesn't GG until you've destroyed all their bases, and they've got a few buildings left.
Mineral field depleted.
Yeah, and the Greek influence is interesting. There was this idea in Greek philosophy, because like Greek philosophy, when the Romans conquered the Greeks, they conquered the land and the political structures of Greek society, but Greek culture went all the way through Roman society, and so it stuck around. And Greek thinking and culture still has a huge impact on us today. There was this idea, they were called the atomists. They thought that the whole world was made up of atoms, which is exactly where we get the name for atoms and molecules and stuff. They thought that if you could figure out what it was that made up physical stuff, physical matter, that was the atom. And once you had identified that thing and understood it, well, then you could explain how the rest of the universe worked without needing any other explanation at all. There's the final. It is. Pretty sloppy game. Stayed on 4 bases. Could have taken a 5th. I think I don't know the map very well. Yeah, slow APM. Too many workers. And you didn't need any other explanation, and that therein lies the problem, and that's the key to one of the keys to the secularization of Western society. We just, as soon as we had the atom and as soon as we had the microscope and the trigonometry to figure out that the stars were burning balls of gas billions of miles away, we then went, well, no such thing as God because it's all just molecules. Dun dun dun, it's the end of religion. Dun dun dun, you know. This music's so pretty. Do, do, do. I love flutes. I listen to folk music a lot. Like a lot. And heavy metal. But folk music. And soundtracks. And so, as our technology and our scientific understanding develops, we kind of went, well, there can't be any God. Look, here's why you get sick, and here's how the universe began, and here's how genes work, and here's where personality comes from, and here's how mental health works, and look at this guy, he's got a serotonin deficiency, that's why he's sad all the time, and yada yada yada. Setting the rally point. Gotta get that supply depot. I'm already looking a bit sharper in this game. But that explanation just doesn't satisfy me. Like, these videos aren't about converting people. I'm not trying to convince someone of my rightness and their wrongness and their need to have my beliefs. I'm just not that guy. I mean, of course, I'd really like it if you did have my faith. In fact, I kind of don't fit in the church tradition I'm a part of. I've always been in evangelical churches. And evangelical churches basically want to evangelize you and make efforts to convert you to the faith. But I've always felt a lot more called to Christians more than people who don't know God. Part of what I'm trying to do with these videos, don't know how successful I will be, but I really want Christians to be encouraged in their faith. I want them to be free of their doubt issues, and I want them to experience God as I do, more than I do, and I want them to have hope for the future, and I want them to be a good impact on the people around them, Christian or not, and I want them to understand the Bible without having the kind of consternation and uncertainty we have around scriptures and themes like prophecy and does it happen today or not, or why doesn't it, or if God loves us so much, why doesn't he do anything, and all of those kind of questions. So it's kind of I really don't mind who watches these videos. I just like to talk about it, and I think the internet's a good forum for it. Because, you know, if you don't like it, you can always go watch that Miley Cyrus video of her twerking. What the hell is twerking anyway? I haven't watched the video. I've seen the still shots of it all over the internet. I've seen enough. The photo of Will Smith's family was hilarious, where they all just look in shock all at the same moment. That was great.
What's going on?
But what I really want with prophecy, with all the spiritual gifts, with scripture, I really just want people to experience God. If God is there to be experienced at all, if you're an atheist or an agnostic, but you're questioning, then why not question? Like, if God is really there, if the Christians are right, and what we say about God loving people, and Him being compassionate, and wanting to bless people, wanting to change us and our lives to make the world a better place, then I'm sure this God would reveal Himself to you if you want to know. And if you're open to it. And if this God isn't real, then you can be as open-minded about it as you want, and call out on God all you want, and if He's not real, you'll find no evidence of Him. But I'm of the persuasion that you will. That you would find God if you wanted to. You know, I don't know what your experience is. You may have had very different experiences to mine and have no reason to believe whatsoever. 2 bases, barracks, let's the SCV back in. Doing a bit better on the money. This is the thing with this build, is I'm not always sure what to spend the extra minerals on. Like, gas timings with Terran are a bit tricky. Like with Protoss and Zerg, you just want to get the gas as much. You want all of it, so you just may as well take all the gas guys straight away. But especially when playing Bio, yeah, I don't have an instinctive knowledge of when to put the gas down. This is why you prepare build orders, I suppose. Like, I could expand again now, drop 2 more barracks. I need supply depots. There's usually a bunker in these builds too, but because you expand backwards, I don't have a bunker at the front of my expansion.
Our SCVs are under attack.
Yeah. So that's prophecy. On the Book of Revelation, it's whenever you read the Bible. I think I mentioned this in the last video, but whenever you read the Bible, don't assume that the way it looks to you is the way it was understood back then when it was written. I think the most important thing you can understand, if you ever took a history class, you would have gone over this, is to check your sources and to find why the author wrote or produced the thing they produced. Like, authorial intent is everything. So understanding the context and why a scripture was written in the first place is key to interpreting it, because you'll read it. You can read things in the Bible and you'll get totally the wrong idea just because it looks like it says something that it doesn't. Like, some passages in the Bible kind of make it look like we're supposed to actually hate people. Like in the Psalms, where King David goes on about how he hates those who hate God. And because we might think the Bible is the word of God, as Christians do, then we might take that as an example, as a teaching, because we think God wrote it or co-authored it with King David when he wrote that particular book. And I would suggest that's not quite the case. I would suggest that David wrote those songs and psalms and prayers because that's what was on his heart and that's what he was going through. So his intent was simply to express truth of where he was at in life to God. He had enemies. He lived in an agrarian, unsafe, politically unstable military society. And he was a very successful military commander and soldier himself. And so having enemies was very familiar to him and to society at the time. You could be raided, plundered, pillaged, invaded at any day of the week, whereas I've had a very peaceful life. I haven't had to worry about armies coming in and trashing me, and we've had World War I and II and Vietnam and Iraq and a bunch of other soldiers, basically ensuring our safety in a lot of cases, or doing the military work so I don't have to, or so my brothers and my dad and my children will probably never have to, unless they go and join the military, but that's another story. So I think intent it's just the key factor, and this is really what my videos are all about. I just want to give to people what was in the heads of believers back when the Bible was written. Like, what does the book of Revelation mean to the people, to the Christians who were around back then? I can assure you it was very different to more common interpretations of that book. And the same goes with all of them. The Bible's, even if, I think this about most religious books, to be honest, is that it's a really good book, but most of it just goes straight over your head. And I like Hellions. Come back. Do I go back to them? I'm just letting them. But down the bottom, they're still alive. No, they're dead now. I do that sometimes. I just sack Hellions. They were those little armoured cars running around down the bottom. But they're fun. I really like them a lot. I've been tempted to just play Zerg more just because they have more fast units, but I'm doing a better job of spending my money this time, but I'm not. I need supply depots. There we go. Oh no, that's okay. That was pretty tight, actually. That's how you want it. No, that's looking better, actually. Some days I'm on point with this game, some days I'm not. But anyway, so Revelation, Ezekiel, prophecy. You just don't interpret the Bible until you know what it meant to the people who originally had it. Like what does, like, you know how a lot of Christians say the Bible's 6,000, the world is 6,000 years old, but the scientists say it's like 6 billion. And there's that whole argument, evolution versus creation. The most boring argument ever. Well, if we had a better idea of why those books were written down in the first place, the argument might not exist at all. Like, at all. But because we read it as though we were written to us in our modern context, we just get it wrong, I think. It looked like I had a pack of Marines down there without medivacs. Yeah, they're dead. So I'm banking money on 3 bases, which is normal-ish. I've gone double starport, which is alright. I like having more starports.
Upgrade complete.
I also like making 30 barracks too. I'm not sure if I do it this game, but sometimes I'm like, all the minerals! Spend all the minerals! And I say it like that too. Where's my army? Look at your army, dude. I'm not great at army macro.
Complete.
Like, I'll do my macro jobs and get carried away with them and then forget about my army, or vice versa. I should just ladder more, I think, but I really like drilling build orders. And roaches. Oh, the roaches. So hard to kill. These bases are awkward too. I find that the newer maps, there's this. The other 2v2 map, excuse me, is Isle of Slaughter. And was there Yonsu, Polar Night and Frost. They're kind of crowded. You got to be efficient playing Terran and have your buildings all as close together as you can get them, while still leaving a path for your units to get out. I don't know if you play Starcraft, you know that like the back of your hand.
Not enough energy.
But man, it gets squishy. So I should be maxed out. I should have my supply depots. I've been liking using the cooldown, especially playing mech, because you don't need the minerals. You often want to save the energy for scans and not use the supply depot cooldowns. But yeah, I've been experimenting with them. I think maybe that'd be more viable if they gave you more supply for the cooldown.
Upgrade complete.
Get it. Kill it. Kill it with fire.
Additional supply
Don't get it.
depots required.
Got it. Alright, so basically maxed out, 4 bases. This game's over.
Additional supply depots required.
So many barracks. So what are we on barracks wise? It's got to be a lot of them. Anyway, so this is Starcraft. I play this all the time. I'll probably do some more. But prophecy, anything you read in the Bible, but especially real Spiro stuff, spiritual woo-woo la-la stuff, or stuff which is confusing, stuff which even looks like hateful, or like God commanding you to go kill people, which he's not doing. Just stop and ask yourself, why was it written in the first place? More than anything else, It's just the biggest thing. Just don't interpret it. You don't need to be right about it or wrong about it. I believe God will teach you about it. Come on, end this game. But just hold off before making an opinion or having a strong conviction on it or telling everyone about what you think or trying to convince them that you're right. This game's going to be over. Yeah, see, I'm just streaming out units now from the top. Yeah, this game's over. Anyway, I have been Acoustic Pants. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you like the video, and I'll see you next time.
Where's the emergency?
You want a piece of me, boy?
Let's go.
Oh, it's on.
Add-on complete. Mineral field
This
depleted.
better be good.
Add-on complete.
We could use some help here. Hell that. Coming through. Yep. Gangway. Coming through.
Mineral field depleted.
Where's ready for dust off?
Ready.
Mineral field depleted.
Hell that. It's about to get heavy. Who wants some? This better be good. It's on. Gangway. Coming through. Armed and ready. It's heating up out here.
Research complete. Add-on complete.
We could use some help here. Armed and ready. Gangway, coming through. Who wants
Mineral field depleted.
Who wants some? You gonna give me orders? Been waiting on you. We could use some help here. Bad news. Gangway.
Add-on complete.
Yep. Who wants some? We could use some help here.
Mineral field depleted.
Can't wait. By the number.
Mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted.
Everything gets started. But one of my last videos was the Ezekiel one, the Dota video with Ezekiel chapter 1, where he has the vision of the the creatures and the wings and the wheels and the floating and the sunshine and whatnot. And I wanted to go a bit further along on the prophecy theme in general, simply because, well, I find the idea of prophecy very interesting, and I think every religion and culture has its own form, except secularized Western culture, and I think it's pretty worth talking about. In fact, if you like Starcraft is all about prophecies with the Protoss and Zeratul and Tassadar and the Preservers and all. Anyway, so this map, I'll come back to prophecy in a sec. So this and goes through our compost heap. Anyway, so prophecy. There's all in the Christian Bible, Jewish Bible, in the Bible. There's a few different forms of what you would call prophecy, and then in religions and history as a whole, there's some more variations again. I think the assumption we make when we hear the word prophecy, or if there was someone who called themselves a prophet, is you'd assume that their work is foretelling the future, or that the process of prophesying is to give a timeline of future events with some degree of certainty, kind of like horoscopes, or why you might go to mediums to get the results on the horse races. So this map, to 2v2, you spawn in the top corners, and your first expansion is directly behind me. You'll see it in a bit. It's one of those ones where you expand backwards to start with, and I believe the AI is down the bottom. You don't really get close spawns. So what am I building? So this is a screen recording, not a replay. I don't have the production tab or anything. This must be the first time I played this map. I was checking to see if there was close spawns or not. Sneeze. I'll bet it's the cat. My neighbour has a super fluffy cat, and it makes me sneeze, and it sits on the fence, but I don't mind that. It's pretty good. Anyway, so season 3 of 2013's ladder pool and WCS has started, so there's a few new maps. This is one of the 2v2 maps. I don't ladder a lot. I play every day, but I spend most of my time in custom maps just drilling build orders. So that's what I'm doing here. I don't remember what it is. I play Terran. I think you probably noticed that in the loading screen. Oh no, yeah, here we go. Terran versus Zerg. So I'm probably going with a bio strategy. Although I've been trying to mech versus Zerg lately. That's pretty fun. Anyway, so that's today's game. And if you're not that familiar with Starcraft, I'll kind of explain a little bit in a minute once good morning internet, or afternoon, or whatever time of day it is. This is Acoustic Pants, the gaming monk, and today's game is a little Starcraft 2 session. Out of all the games I play, Starcraft 2 is probably the one closest to my heart, put it that way. My brothers and I played this ever since Starcraft 1 ever since we were kids. I'm a little noobish at it, but I can macro. I can build an army. When is it now? This particular game, I'm not playing this right now, just kind of talking over the top. I hope you like the music. It's kind of epic. I really like the Starcraft music, although to be honest, I think they kind of ripped off a few things from World of Warcraft.